Hello, everybody. Okay, so this is for English 1B. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started. Okay, let's put this down. Let's move this over here. And let's click on this and let's start from the beginning. Okay, so this is read most dangerous. Oh boy, I have a misspelling. It should say Althusser. I'll fix it later. Okay, no, I gotta fix it now. I gotta fix it now, guys. I have to fix it now because we are going ahead and doing it. Okay. Yeah, Althusser. Okay, Louis Althusser. Okay, so let's go forward. So what do I mean by this? Okay, so in this presentation, we're going to talk about why bother reading, the most dangerous game, and ideology and ideological state apparatuses. Now, we're going to come back to ideology and ideological state apparatuses all semester long. So I'm just going to deal with pages 100 to 102 or 103, okay? So let's go forward. Okay, so why bother reading? Why are we reading fiction? Why are we reading these short stories? And you know that short stories really originated with mythology and with fables and folk tales and things like that, right? Short stories, okay? And we're starting out with our short stories because they're condensed. The writer has only a limited amount of time to get to where they need to get to, okay? So we're gonna learn all of our terminology with these short stories, all right? So let's keep going. Okay, why won't it go? Okay, so we already talked about why read the fiction and the stories. Okay, so we read them because they help us expand our thinking on significant topics or help us awaken our sense of life, right? So the stories give us not only enjoyment but understanding about the human condition. So we're learning about the human condition through these stories, right? How do we navigate life as a human being, as a thinking animal? All right, so most of the stories we read in this course are going to be literary fiction, okay? Now, I just want to briefly touch on commercial fiction. Commercial fiction is for escape, right? It helps the reader escape some aspect of life, and this literature is usually for making money. Although literary fiction also makes money, but literary fiction is a little bit different, okay? So literary fiction, what it does is it helps us broaden, deepen, and sharpen the reader or the audience awareness of life. Again, it's about the human condition. It's about our experience, knowing that we're not alone. How do we navigate? Somebody else is showing us that they're going through the same life experiences that we are and showing us how they get through it, okay? It dramatizes the human experience. Now, part of it is we have to be open to the unexpected. Be open to the unexpected. Okay, so literary fiction may not end the way you want it to end. Okay, sometimes the ending might be ambiguous, right? And what does ambiguity mean? It means there's no clear-cut answer, right? And that's one of the things that we have to learn to deal with in college is ambiguity. Okay, so literary work may be unsettling, unresolved in some way, and it may force us to examine our own expectations. Okay, so what you expect something to be, it may not happen that way in the story. And oftentimes it doesn't happen in life. Okay, so why does Joseph Campbell tells us that that humans, right, do not like happy endings? And why is it that humans don't like happy endings? Because life doesn't end happily. We die, right? So we have to learn how to deal with death, knowing that we're going to die, right? Also, we might have to deal with racism or sexism, right? We might have to deal with oppression, right? And bing, bing, oppression. That's why we're reading Ideology and Ideological State Apparatuses, right? Okay, hierarchical structure, right? Hegemony, All right, let's go forward. So The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell. You guys already read it and you wrote about it. Well done you if you did, okay? So now, some of you guys wrote a summary. That's right, I've looked at some of your reading responses, although I have not marked them, okay? I will go back and I will mark them, okay? Now, check this out. I already touched on oppression, right, and hegemony. So Rainsford tells Whitney, right, at the very beginning of the story, that the world is made up of two classes, the hunters and the huntees. Luckily, you and I are the hunters, Connell, right? Oh, I didn't write the page number down. Now to get on you guys for not having that page number, okay? So at the very beginning of the story, we see that Rainsford is a particular type of person, right? Also, this quotation sets up what we're going to be studying in our class, right? Our theme is bad bitches, but there's a sub-theme as well, okay, which is oppression, all right? All right, so these words spoken by Rainsford to Whitney as they cruise through the thick, dark jungle waters reveal the theme of our class. Oh, I told you I shouldn't have said anything. I wanted you to guess, right? So now, how do we respond to a short story? Right? A bunch of you guys were sending me emails. Read my paper. How do I know if I'm doing it right? Okay, ambiguity, right? Let it go. Let go of trying to do things right all the time, okay? Trying to be perfect. Let it go. Let it go and just practice, okay? Just practice, right? So how do you respond to a story? Okay, so the first way is to read closely, focus on the words on the page. Now, if you looked at how to create a digital journal, there was a video series there and you saw a student sitting at their desk and they were carefully reading their text and underlining passages and writing on the side of their text why they underlined that passage. And then they went to their computer and they carefully typed the words from the text, word for word, that they underlined, right? And they started to expand on that part that they wrote, the annotation that they wrote in their book, okay? So when you're reading, you should read with a writing instrument in your hand. Now, I'm gonna show you my text. I don't know if you can see this. Okay, let's pull back. Okay, I'm going to stop my share for a second and I'll come back to it. I want you to see my text, right? This is My Most Dangerous Game. All right, it's probably going to show backwards for you because I'm on an Apple. Okay, and if you notice, if you look closely, you will see that I have underlined sections, right? And I have written on the side. I've written on the side of my text. I've written on the side why I've underlined those things, right? So things are underlined, right? Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Oh, no, that's the right way. Things are underlined, words are circled, right? I'm making a map of this book for myself. I'm making a map, actually, of this short story for myself. I'm making a map. I'm making a map, right? And I want to do this. I want to annotate my text so that when I go back to my text and I write my papers and I go into my journal, right, and I start writing my papers, it's going to be easy for me to locate the information within my text that I need. Okay, so now let's go back to screen share. Okay, so we want to read closely and we want to read slowly and we want to focus on the words on the page, the words on the page. Now, if you are doing your work for this week, I asked you to read about new criticism, and one of the main tenets of new criticism is to focus on the words on the page, because T.S. Eliot believed that a work of the poetry, right, and this is poetry, it's poesy, okay, we're going to call it poesy, right, okay, so a work of art, okay, exists onto itself. It exists onto itself. So according to new criticism, you shouldn't have to look outside of the text to find knowledge about the text. It should all be inside the text, and you should not be concerned with the author, right? So the text exists outside of context for the new criticism. And then we're going to see a response to that, right? We're going to see a response to that. But in order to learn to critically analyze literature, we have to learn about new criticism, right? And then we're going to let it go. We're going to take some things from new criticism and hold on to them, and then we're going to let some things go, okay? We'll talk about that later. All right, so now let's see. I need to make sure that I'm staying on target for time. So now what's another way? Another way that we can look closely or respond to a text. So what we want to do is we want to look for motifs, M-O-T-I-F-S, not motives, M-O-T-I-V-E-S. Do not confuse motif with motive. A motif, right? Motifs are repeated things in a story. They can be words, images, symbols, character traits, right? And so on. Things that repeat in a story are motifs, okay? A motive is the reason a person does something. And we'll come back to that when you guys look at characterization. Okay, so words that repeat. So in The Most Dangerous Game, and you saw my text, you saw that it was annotated and I had words circled, right? So words that repeat: dread, evil, dark, blackness, sound, fear, sea, hunting, shot, pistol, black, animal, game, civilized, night. Okay, so just from these words, Connell is revealing information about the story. To me, he's telling me that this is going to be a serious story. This is going to be some story. Maybe there's going to be murder in it. Maybe there's going to be bloodshed, but it's not going to be about people picking flowers. That's for dango sure. So just from these words, right? So these are repeated words that I found within the text, okay? And these words are revealing something to me, okay? All right, so now what's your gut reaction? I'm going to get a piece of text right now and I'm going to read it, right? Where's my Most Dangerous Game? Oh, I messed it up. Okay, oh, here it is. Okay, so your pagination is different than mine, and pagination means the page, the way your text is has the page numbers, okay? So I have the complete book, and what I have done is I have made PDFs of my student copy for you, so you would not have to buy this $100 book. Okay, so you have PDFs. Now it might be off by a few pages, but you can go back and look for this text in your own book, okay? Okay, so now let's look, okay, on page 18. Page 8, ooh, yeah, I love page 18. Wait, let me go. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna do page 18, right? So listen to this. Laughter shook the general. How extraordinarily droll you are, he said. One does not expect nowadays to find a young man of the educated class, even in America, with such a naive and, if I may say, mid-Victorian point of view. It's like finding a snuff box in a limousine. Ah, well, doubtless you had Puritan ancestors. So many Americans appear to have had. I'll wager you'll forget your notions when you go hunting with me. You'll have a genuine new thrill in store for you, Rainsford, right? Thank you. I'm a hunter, not a murderer. Dear me, said the general, quite unruffled. Again, that unpleasant word. But I think I can show you that your scruples are quite ill-founded. Now, I'm going to talk about this for a second, because at the very beginning of the story, Rainsford didn't care what the jaguar felt, right? He said, who cares how the jaguar felt? He thinks that sport hunting is not murdering, okay? To me, it's murder. He just said he's a hunter and not a murderer, right? But then later, we're going to read tracts. And we're going to see that people have to hunt to live. So what's the difference of hunting for fun and hunting because you need food, right, to survive, right? So now Rainsford said that he's not a murderer because he kills animals, right? But why is he calling the general a murderer? Because he kills people, but the general doesn't think of them as people. He thinks of them as animals. And this is a big issue that we're dealing with now in society, right? Extreme, this is extreme, right? Dear me, said the general, quite unruffled. Oh, I read that part. Yes, life is for the strong, to be lived by the strong, right? Life is for the hunter, right? There are two classes, the hunties and the hunters, right? And the hunters are supposedly the strong, and they get to live life and say how life should be, We're going to talk about ideology and ideological state apparatuses. Whose ideology is impressed or is being forced on others. Okay? All right, so let's keep going. The weak of the world were put here to give the strong pleasure. I am strong, right? So that means if you're weak, I'm taking pleasure. I get my pleasure at your expense. That's called exploitation, right? That's exploiting, right? Who cares how you feel? I'm strong. So I get to have pleasure at your expense, okay? Think about some things that are pleasure at somebody's expense, okay? Drug use. How about prostitution, right? Slavery, right? And don't think slavery doesn't exist. It still exists today, okay? All right. Why should I not use my gift? If I wish to hunt, why should I not? I hunt the scum of the earth, sailors from tramp ships, Lascars, blacks, Chinese, whites, mongrels, a thoroughbred horse or a hound is worth more than a score of them. So he said a horse or a dog is worth more than these people, right? So he hunts the scum of the earth. Who's the scum of the earth? He just named everybody. Everybody in the world except for the generals, the scum of the earth, and he's allowed to hunt them. He should be able to use his gift, right? My gut reaction to the text, right? That's my response to the text. Let's keep going. So who's Rainsford fighting in this text? Who's he fighting? Who's he at odds with, right? Who is Rainsford fighting? Okay. Can you have a fight with yourself, right? Well, the obvious is, right, Zaroff, the general. That's the obvious fight that's going on. But ask yourself, who is fighting? What is the conflict? Okay. Can the jungle be a character? Like in this text, right? The environment, like Connell has very thick description of the text, okay? Of the text, of the environment, right? Of this jungle he's in. Can it be a character? Can a human being interact with environment? Do we see a human being interacting with environment in this short story, The Most Dangerous Game? Maybe that's something that you need to answer, okay? So words, what else if we find repeated words? Now let's just think, okay? So I said look for motifs. So if I look for repeated words, right, can these words tell me about character, right? So let's look at some words here. Let's look. He was a tall man, past middle age, I have a misspelling. For his hair was vivid white, but his thick brows and pointy military mustache were as black as the night. His eyes too were black. He had high cheekbones, a sharp cut nose, a spare face, dark face of a man used to giving orders, the face of an aristocrat, right? So I said that black was repeated. Okay, and here we have black multiple times being used, black, night, being used to describe this dude, right? And he has the face of an aristocrat. Make sure you read this, right? Okay, in here the aristocrats are called the bourgeoisie, right? The bourgeoisie or the dominant culture, okay? All right, I have hunted every kind of game in every land. It would be impossible for me to tell you how many animals I have killed. Connell, 16, right? He's killed so much. He's killed so much he doesn't know, okay? I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, I'm a vegan. I don't eat no meat. I don't eat no meat, okay? I can't really call myself a vegan because I wear leather, right? I do cook meat for members of my family, but I don't eat it, right? Because I can't kill an animal. I'm gonna throw up. If I see something dead, I'm gonna actually projectile vomiting. It's gonna right? Okay, so let's get back here. I digress because I am under a time constraint. Okay. So now let me keep going. Okay, so life is for the strong, to be lived for the strong, if need be taken by the strong, right? I should have said strong is a repeated word, okay? Strong is a repeated word, okay? Right? So is the strong a person that can be violent, right? And use aggression to dominate others? In this story, it looks like, it looks like, right? So what are all of these quotations that we're pulling out of Connell telling us about Zaroff? Does he sound like a nice guy? I'm a hunter, not a murderer, right? Right? I assure you, I do not do the thing you suggest. That would be barbarous. I treat these visitors with every consideration, right? He treats the people he's going to kill with every consideration. He's not a barbarian. I'm an aristocrat. I'm civilized, right? All right, what do words tell about the environment? Okay, so the jagged crags appeared to jut into the opaqueness. Dense jungle came down to the very edges of the cliff. What are you seeing, right? Okay, the jungle weeds were crushed down and moss was lacerated. One patch was stained crimson. What's stained crimson? That's blood. That's scary, dude. Right? Rainsford fought, right? He had fought his way through the bush. Can you have a fight with your environment? I asked you that, right? Night found him leg weary, right? Hit with hands and face lashed by branches and thickly wooden ridge, right? Oh my God, right? He's getting beat up by this jungle, right? Dusk came, right? Look at this, right? The ground grew softer under his moccasins. The vegetation grew ranker, denser. Insects bit him savagely. The monk sucked viciously at his foot, right? This is the environment that Ransford is moving through, right? To escape from who? But is he? I mean, he's having a fight ever since he fell off that ship. He's been fighting to live. Death is coming at you, Rainsford. Okay. So now, how does this relate to Ideology and Ideological State Apparatus by Louis Althusser or Louis Althusser, right? The dude is French. So I'm going to say Louis Althusser. Okay. So now, on page 100, okay, this is the very beginning. Where's my text, right? This is the very beginning. If I were you, I'd print this out, okay? I'd print this out. Somebody asked me, what's the reproduction of production? What does reproduction mean? Reproduction means to reproduce something. What does production mean? Production means to make something. To make something, right? I can see that I have a typo here and I'm gonna have to fix this. So now here's the quotation, right, that I have chosen that we can start discussing. Every child knows that a social formation which did not reproduce the conditions of production at the same time as it produced would not last a year. The ultimate condition of production is therefore the reproduction of the conditions of production. Althusser, 100, right? So what's a social formation? Okay. So that's something that you need to research, right? Or you could research, right? We live in a social formation, right? I'm in a social formation right now. It's called my family. I'm also in a social formation. I'm in a group of teachers. I'm an educator. I'm also in a social formation, right? I'm a Californian. I'm also, right? I'm in many social formations, okay? The United States is a social formation, okay? So now, what is it now? It's not gonna, if it can't make the means, right? Let's say we're making cups, right? So if I cannot reproduce the conditions, right? The materials that I need, the workers that I need, right? The machines, right? The environment, if I cannot reproduce, right, the conditions for my production, for making glasses, right? My business is not going to last. So how do I keep that money flowing in a capitalist society, right? I got to reproduce the conditions of production, right? So now let's go on. Let's move forward. So every social formation arises from a dominant mode of production, okay? A dominant mode of production, right? In order to exist. Every social formation must reproduce the conditions of its production at the same time it produces in order to be able to produce. It must therefore reproduce the productive forces and the existing relation of production, okay? Now let's think about that. Okay, let's think about that. I saw this excellent television show on Netflix called Into the Badlands, right? And I found it a commentary on slavery, a commentary on our modern day social formation, right? So what were they producing in Into the Badlands? Heroin, poppies, right? That's their main production, right? That's their main production. What is Zaroff producing? What is Zaroff producing in the most dangerous game, right? Hunting humans, hunting humans, right? So he's got to reproduce the conditions, right? So he's got the island, right? The ship trap island, okay? We'll think about it. Let's think about it, okay? Keep thinking about this one. Keep thinking about this one. Okay, now, so what's Zaroff producing? Here I wrote fear and exploitation, right? Hunting humans, right? So the social formation is Zaroff. Zaroff has is Zaroff. It should be Zaroff as a ruler and everyone else below him, right? So Connell even describes Zaroff as an aristocrat. So that's the social formation in this story, right? Zaroff is at the top of the hierarchy. He's the hegemon, right? He's the dominant of everybody in his domain, right? And everybody else is down here. Everybody else is down here. Okay. So what does Zaroff need? He needs men to hunt. So how does he get these men? How does he reproduce them? He wrecks the ships, right? He wrecks the ships that pass by, right? So now, Connell is blatant in the most dangerous game as he shows how a social formation has to create people in order to continue to reproduce its major product, right? Listen to this. A social formation has to create people in order to continue to reproduce its major product, right? So you got to reproduce the people as well, okay? Keep reading Althusser. It is this product that the society would be based around, right? So the society and the most dangerous game is based around fear, exploitation, and the hunting of men. Connell describes the two classes of people or a stratified society with his hunting analogy, right? So a class system, a caste system, right? A stratified society. Does the United States have a class system? Or is there a class? Are there upper class, middle class, lower class, working class, the poorer class, right? The 1% class, the 99%, right? As we read in Althusser, he describes such a class system and how this class system preys on the people, the proletarian class struggle, right? So Althusser calls it the proletarian class struggle. And I'm going to end here, guys. I'm going to stop this because I am 3 minutes past and I need to go to my office hour with you. So please watch this video. And as you're reading now, start thinking and asking questions about the text that you are going to be assigned to read. Okay, look things up that you do not know, especially when you're reading Althusser, right? Look up the words you don't know. Look up the words you do know so that it will clarify meaning for you. Okay, everybody? Have a great day.